photos of each other, and both men are facing accusations of sexual misconduct. Earlier today, a new woman publicly came forward with disturbing allegations against Swalwell. He is already facing accusations of sexual assault and sexual misconduct from several other women. Swalwell has said he will fight the serious false allegations against him. Tony Gonzalez has admitted to a romantic relationship with a former staffer. She later died by suicide. Gonzalez announced last month he was dropping his re-election bid. Tracking it all, NBC News chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles and NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal. Camila, we'll go to you first because you were at that press conference with the new Swalwell accuser. What did we hear from her, and has there been a response from Swalwell or his attorney?
Yes, Clay. So I first want to start by warning your viewers that some of the details here are really disturbing. But what this accuser says happened is that Eric Swalwell drugged her to the point that she was raped and choked, and that she even felt that she was going to die that day. This happened back in 2018, and this accuser is saying that this relationship started socially, that they went to two different social events together. They started texting each other. She said those text messages were not inappropriate. She thought she had a friendship with Eric Swalwell. But then the third encounter, she also thought was going to be a social encounter. But what happened was that he said he needed to go back to his hotel room to get some paperwork. She says by the time she got to the hotel room, she'd only had one drink. But she said that when she got to the hotel, she felt incapacitated. She said that that's when she was raped and choked. And again, to the point where she thought that she had died. And she said she did not speak up. She was extremely distraught about all of this, but did not want to come forward, and here's part of the reason why she didn't.
My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened.
And so they say they want a criminal investigation. That's how they see justice in this case. They said that after that press conference, they were going to go to the LA Sheriff's Office to turn over all the evidence in this case, which included the text messages, the photos. She talked to a therapist. They say they have people that she spoke to at the time about all of this happening. So again, they're looking for criminal charges here, Clay.
Camila, thank you. Ryan, I want to bring you in now. What more do we know about the timing of Tony Gonzalez's decision to ultimately step down?
Well, it probably has a lot to do with the fact, Sinclair, that the House is back today after a lengthy spring break recess, and that there was a growing chorus of members of Congress, both Republican and Democrats, calling on both he and Eric Swalwell to be expelled. There was the possibility that an expulsion resolution could have been on the floor by the end of this week. Gonzalez, much like Swalwell, was the subject of an ethics investigation. Gonzalez accused of and admitted to having an affair with the staffer, which is a direct violation of House rules. That staffer then later took her own life. So there was a ton of pressure on both Gonzalez and Swalwell. And instead of going through the whole ethics process, waiting for that to play out, both decided it was time to step away. Interestingly, neither of them had planned to run for re-election, so it would have just meant attempting to try and stay in their seats until the end of the year. Both chose to not take that path and instead step away.
Ryan Nobles, Camila Bernal, thank you both. Let's turn now to that ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. The U.S. military is more than 24 hours into a partial blockade of the Strait of Hormuz following this weekend's failed negotiations to end this war. But there are new hopes for more in-person talks, and soon. President Trump told the New York Post today that another meeting could happen in Pakistan in the coming days. It comes as rare negotiations between Israel and Lebanon took place today in Washington. It's the first time the two nations have held direct talks since 1993. Joining us now, NBC's Keir Simmons in Saudi Arabia and Kelly O'Donnell at the White House. Kelly, I'll begin with you. What more do we know about these possible in-person talks between the United States and Iran? And what more are we learning about the terms discussed in Saturday's really marathon negotiations?
Those marathon negotiations spanned about 21 hours, and as long as that sounds like, and it is considered a relatively short amount of time for the complex issues between the United States and Iran when it comes to their nuclear capabilities, the future for that, and all the different elements of a potential agreement. There is a ceasefire in place that goes until the 22nd, so there's some time pressure. The president did indicate that he could see another round of such talks happening in the next couple of days. We don't have anything scheduled yet that we're aware of. Pakistan has been stepping forward as a host for these conversations. That is notable in and of itself. At times they have been adversarial with the U.S. At times they've been a partner. They certainly want to try to broker peace here. Among the things being discussed is what kind of time frame would Iran be willing to agree to not continue any nuclear work toward the use of a weapon. And that, of course, is something that is a red line for President Trump. It's also a line for the Iranian regime because they want to have that access at some point. So there's been a range of different timeframes discussed. And, of course, if that sounds familiar to you, that is somewhat like the contours of the deal that was signed during the Obama years, known as the JCPOA, and that had a time frame attached. So it is possible that these talks would end up in a place that is somewhat similar to the kind of deal that President Trump had originally, when he came into office, scrapped. But there's been a talk of anywhere from 5 years to 20 years. President Trump has indicated he would like more time than that. Zinkley?
Kelly, thank you. Kier, I'll go to you now because there were 2 sanctioned oil tankers that passed through the Strait today, including one from China. What should we know about the situation there?
Well, according to CENTCOM, which of course is the part of the US military that oversees this region, no tankers or cargo ships have passed through the Strait of Hormuz from Iranian ports. Some ships have passed through, but CENTCOM says they didn't come from Iranian ports. Now, the plan is this, not to intercede in the progression of ships in the actual Strait, but to intercept them in the Gulf of Oman, which is after the Strait, and push them back into Iranian ports. And 6 ships have suffered that, according to CENTCOM. So effectively, 24 hours, this thing has worked. And it is, let's put it this way, it is the Trump administration effectively saying to the Iranian regime, anything you can do, we can do better, or just as well. Effectively, the Iranians have been closing the Strait to any ships that they don't like. And now the Trump administration is saying, well, we'll do it too. Why? Because if you can put pressure on the Iranian economy, the thinking goes, then you will force Iranians to compromise. As Kelly was saying, those talks are effectively still ongoing. Those negotiations are still ongoing. It's part of that. The question is, though, whether that will have that impact on the Iranians, who have not capitulated, really, even after they have been bombarded during the war.
Kier Simmons, Kelly O'Donnell, thank you both so much. Jury selection began today in the latest retrial of disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. The former movie mogul is being tried for a 3rd time on rape charges in New York City. He's accused of raping actress Jessica Mann at a Manhattan hotel back in 2013. Allegations Mr. Weinstein denies. Joining us now, NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas. So, Chloe, remind us why Weinstein is being tried now a 3rd time here.
Well, when he was originally tried in 2020, Zinkley, his conviction was overturned a few years later. So we found ourselves in his 2nd criminal trial over the summer. But as it pertained to Jessica Mann, the jury, they couldn't come to a decision. So the judge declared a mistrial on that particular charge. I mean, at the time when prosecutors said that they were going to retry him again in this 3rd trial, many of us have been covering this since day one, including myself. We didn't actually think that this day would come. And here we are. And that's because it is a much shorter trial. It is 1 woman and 1 charge of 3rd-degree rape. So again, prosecutors, they don't want to rest until they see Harvey Weinstein found guilty on this particular charge.
Okay, we'll see what comes of it. Chloe Malas, thanks so much.